his relief. Command passes on the utterance by the relieving officer, "I relieve you, sir," and the reply, "I stand relieved." This simple procedure is duplicated daily throughout the world in our Navy as each watch passes responsibility to his or her relief and the conduct of each command's routine. The strength of today's Navy stems in large measure from the observance of customs and traditions, each contributing to the stability, combat effectiveness, and the smooth transfer of authority. The simple ceremony and the authority and responsibility passed to another officer reflects upon the dedication of free men and women serving the nation proudly. Military guests, please rise. Military doctor covers for the presentation of colors, the national anthem, and the invocation. The national anthem will be performed by the M18 Rose. Color Guard, advance the colors.
Color Guard, attend just, Lord, march. Color Guard, halt. The faith. Present R. Colors.
Ready, two. Color Guard, pose.
Right, face. Forward, march.
Will you hold this? I'm gonna turn my phone off.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as Chaplain Segundo offers today's invocation.
It'll start working when you and Dad go.
O eternal God, we evoke your blessings upon this ceremony and all those gathered to witness this change of command. As Commander Socha departs NRC Corpus Christi, we look back and are thankful for his leadership, integrity, and commitment to our nation and to us. Under his command, we have been challenged to give our best and encouraged to grow professionally and to thrive as individuals. It has been a privilege serving under his leadership, and we thank you for allowing him to come our way. May you be the wind in his sails and surround him, his wife Annie, and their children Rami and Kaden with peace, as they settle into VR1 Detachment Hawaii. We thank you for bringing us Lieutenant Commander Ryan Zitrath. May you grant our incoming commanding officer the gifts of wisdom, courage, and strength. We pray that under his leadership, every member of this command will continue to grow, develop, and display our core values. May his time of command at NRC Corpus Christi be one of blessing for him, his family, and for all the sailors under his command. We welcome him, his wife Rachel, and their children Mackenzie and Douglas aboard. We ask all these things in your great name. Amen.
Please be seated. Military Gothic Club. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege and honor to introduce the Redcom Commanding Officer, Captain Seaman. Captain Seaman is the presiding officer for today's Change of Command ceremony and will provide today's opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Seaman.
All right, good morning. Welcome to today's Change of Command ceremony of distinguished visitors, guests, families, friends, and shipmates that are out there. First, I want to say thanks to the curators and the staff of the Lexington here for graciously allowing us to be here to conduct the ceremony here today. But I also want to thank the NRC personnel. I know putting these things together, it's a lot of work. A lot can be stressful. You know, guys are trying to get the outgoing guy and make him happy, make sure he gets off well without irritating the new boss coming in, because I have to suffer with his wrath for the next 18 months to 2 years. So I think we've done a great job balancing that, but thank you for you guys, because doing this a few times, it takes a lot of work, a lot of coordination. I have a lot of family and friends out there today, and I think the prize goes to Steve's parents for the furthest travel from Spokane, Washington, right, coming down, as well as Steve's childhood friend. You know, thank you for coming out today. I think I was a surprise for you, wasn't planning on seeing him here today. But, you know, family and friends here, I want to recognize, again, Steve's parents, you know, Master Chief Steve Socha, retired, and his wife Rachel, Steve's wife Annie, you know, and their kids, Katie, we go with Katie, not CJ, and Raimi, as well as her in-laws, Brad and Molly. I had the pleasure to meet last night, and I had a fantastic time. And for, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm a little froggy this morning. For Ryan, your wife, Rachel Mackenzie, wife Rachel, kids Mackenzie and Douglas, and your mom, CJ, and her husband, Irv, and Mr. John Massey, Vietnam veteran, and Ryan's related father's best friend since childhood. So my duties here today only require me to welcome everybody, which we have done, ensure that we have a transfer of command, and that takes place. We'll do that here shortly, and then also conduct any awards for exceptional performance if warranted. But I would be remiss if I didn't take a few seconds to briefly talk about Stephen and the phenomenal job that he's done here as a commanding officer at NRC Corpus Christi. I was fortunate enough yesterday to spend some time with Steve and his family, went out and had some dinner and some conversations. And then it dawned on me why I like Steve so much, is that him and I have a lot in common. Both of us were NAPS kids, we were NAPSers, both went to the Naval Academy, albeit 6 years apart, but not just alone, but we're odd year graduates, who are far more superior than the even year graduates. So that's always a constant, bickering. But yes, Steve, 03, and myself was 97. But he also played baseball there. He was a pitcher there at the Naval Academy, and I was a catcher there during our tenure. We were both raised by machinist mates, so I understand the pain very well, having a machinist mate father. But then also a mom that supports our military careers. My mom took care of my laundry until I think I was a lieutenant when she stopped doing my laundry. So I wouldn't be here today without that support from my mom. And then also in-laws, right? Got a chance to meet Brad and his wife Molly. Brad, fantastic decision maker, married to Molly. My wife's name is Molly, so Brad and I got off really well together last night. Almost had to call you this morning. We might have to do some magic tricks up here because we had some uniform issues last week, so I was gonna have to get you up here and do some magic. So, but now we're here and we're doing this. But then it became really clear to me, why Steve is successful. He does a great job. He gets things done right. But just like me, he married well above his pay grade. And his success is because Andy calls all the shots, right? I mean, watching these guys interact and how they do business, it's great. And I mention all that because family is important, and Steve leaves and we welcome Ryan into the family here in the region. We have teamwork and building bonds. It's been great, which I look forward to. But in all seriousness, during Steve's tenure here, Corpus Christi had the highest medical readiness on average, across the region, which is fantastic. And then a 100% mobilization rate, which is what we do. Those two things, it's a very difficult, very hard task. But Steve's up to the challenge, and it's really a tribute to your team getting after it and getting it done, but also your leadership and leading that team to get there. Because not only do they do things well, they do them right. And they kind of go hand in hand. So, for that, Steve, I sincerely thank you, and I wish you and your family the best of luck out in Hawaii. And Ryan, I look forward to working with you. We met in Fort Worth, came down to the office and chatted, said, hey, I'm heading to Corpus, what do you think? And I was like, well, pretty much a done deal, you're heading down to Corpus. So, looking forward to working with you and welcome your family to the team. And I suspect that you're going to have every success that Steve's had down here in Corpus, and doing very well. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Seaman. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker for today is Captain Rocky Burns.
Good morning again. Steve, thanks for inviting me to speak today. It is a privilege, and I'm humbled, honored, and thankful for you as a person, sailor, squadron mate, and friend. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Master Chief Socha, Mrs. Socha, Mr. and Mrs. Arnold, Captain Seaman, Captain Bain, Captain Jack, Captain Cox, Vince Bozio, Officer, Skipper Thompson, Colonel Summit, Vietnam veteran, Mr. John Massey, friends from the local area, and other distinguished guests from the base, and especially the other guy with the coolest name here today, Warren Rocky Halsey. Welcome. Before I say anything else, thank you, Annie, sincerely. You have been amazing in Steve's foundation, both in Libya and here. Back home in Corpus, we're so fortunate that you and Steve somewhat reenacted the movie The Officer and the Gentleman in real life. Also, a thank you to Caden and Ramey. I said this, and it is held true today. When speaking, I was once told, be sincere, be brief, and be seated. I usually talk too much, so the be brief part may be a challenge. I'd also like to thank you all, family and friends, for supporting Steve and Annie and NRC Corpus Christi. Command is truly a group effort, and I know Steve is the man he is because of all of you. The Zincraft family, thank you in advance. I'm currently working on the staff of the Chief of Navy Reserve, and I can inundate you with Battle Orders 2032, the Navy Reserve Fighting Instructions, the CNO's NAV Plan, or the NAV Plan Implementation Framework. All very exciting stuff, I tell you. Or litany other strategy documents and how they all relate to you and your everyday lives here at NRC Corpus Christi. I will point out that the Chief of Navy Reserves, Admiral John Musson, unambiguous priority is warfighting readiness. These documents are all important, so is SUNAR's priority. But I know translating strategy documents into action is challenging on the deck plate. What I do know is that NRC Corpus Christi lives warfighting readiness every day. Warfighting readiness in the ivory tower that is the Pentagon is one part mobilization readiness and one part training readiness. Steve and the team here at NRC Corpus have done their part preparing the reserve sailors to mobilize as quickly as possible. Results such as having the highest medical readiness average in the region and having 100% mobilization success in FY23 are tangible results of the command's collective effort. Training readiness is ensuring these same sailors who mobilize quickly are able to perform an assigned function on day one. By ensuring the sailors here are ready to go at a moment's notice and have the ability to be trained in their assigned billet, NRC Corpus, you all deliver warfighting readiness every day. Well done. What you also live every day is exposure to leadership. The military is a leadership school. Every one of you is a student here in this NRC at all levels, as a member of the REDCOM, in the Navy, enlisted an officer, TAR, or CELRES. It is all a school of learning how to lead. And now I'll touch on some of the things I know about Steve and his leadership education. Steve was with me at VR-61, a C-40 squadron at Whidbey Island. He was one of my department heads, and we had many discussions there and following that tour. Our discussions are truly one of my favorite things about our friendship, and I've cherished each and every one of them. I'm going to hit on 3 topics today before I begin coming off the stage. The man in the arena and authenticity, leadership and followership, and then time. One of my favorite notes is from Teddy Roosevelt, and it's called The Man in the Arena. So you should know this. It goes something like this. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails by daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. I want to highlight, it is not the critic who counts, because leadership can sometimes be a lonely place. Until you sit in that hot seat of being a CO and sign your name to that sit rep, fit rep eval, ward, people can only guess what the responsibility feels like. Your name, your standards, your work can be defined by the quality control you keep and by the people you trust to execute. It's not paralyzing, it's not inundating, it's just a different type of pressure and stress. The weight of responsibility is real, but it is a normal thing in this environment. Steve has just experienced it. Ryan is just about to. Sometimes you can't worry about the critics. You are the standard bearer, and it is imperative as a leader that you hold the standard despite the critics. Authenticity. My staff and I just had a dining out, and the guest speaker was Mr. Robert Irvine, the famous chef, if you're familiar. He does hundreds of military events a year because it is a passion of his. But I asked him, with only a certain amount of engagement with individual people at these events, with only a few seconds of time for sailors and soldiers during an event, how do you make the time authentic? He acknowledges it as a challenge, and the CEO has that same challenge. How a leader faces that challenge truly separates the best from the rest. The commanding officer position is given a certain level of respect by nature of the position, as does a chief, an LPO, a DH, but the individual owns the authenticity. Do you care truly about events? Any Mouses? Listen to a story and young? Follow up on things said, family situations? Do you perform examples of volunteerism, kindness, thoughtfulness, humbleness? There's no formula for authenticity, but is a key ingredient to leading. Steve is authentic because he leads with the same personality traits he carries in everyday life. His values as a dad, as a husband, as an outdoorsman, fisherman, as a son of a master chief, are the same values he carries as a leader. A compilation of the letters from John Paul Jones titled The Qualifications of a Naval Officer state, every commander should keep constantly before him the great truth, that to be well obeyed he must be perfectly esteemed. Well, Steve is perfectly esteemed, and I am fortunate to call him a friend. Authenticity and doing the work despite the critics is the intersection where Steve exists. I had the privilege of working on the Hill for a year. The Speaker of the House at the time was Rep. John Boehner from Ohio. One time he said, as he was navigating a new Freedom Caucus during that time, a leader without any followers is just a man on a walk. Subsequently, I heard a TED Talk about the first follower theory. It describes one person leading with an idea or a movement or holding a standard, but then you need one other person to be brave enough to support that leader, to stand by, to carry the message, to mirror your values and the example of what the leader is trying to accomplish, to be the first follower. That first follower is where momentum starts, or so the theory states. The first person is brave for putting himself out there, but the first follower is just as brave for trusting in that first person in the endeavor. Steve was that person for me at ER 61. There was a new plane, a squadron in transition, a new place for me, but with a culture already in place. Luckily for me, he bought into what I was trying to do, where he agreed with my values, my message, and carried the water for me during opportunities I didn't have. He was my momentum builder. Who did he rely on to echo his values here at NRC Corpus? The XO? No. SEL, a mainstay LPO, an influential chief, the Selrose who's on long-term orders who comes in, the Captain's Cup Pro who sees everyone outside of work. Who are those folks that said, maybe I don't necessarily agree with him, but I know the Commander Soja cares about the people here, and I trust him. There isn't a badge or a t-shirt or a neon sign identifying you as a follower, nor is it a knock on your leadership. It is part of leadership and the culture behind the scenes. Leading requires followers, believers, and trusted agents, or you're just a man on a walk. A quality unit culture starts with leadership that is mirrored throughout the unit, amplifying good behaviors and standards. The question is, who will be that person or people for Ryan? You're in this audience today. Time. As I get older, I believe the most valuable thing you have in this life is time. How you choose to use your time. Volunteering, visiting family, helping a friend move or fix their plumbing, reaching out to a shipmate when you see an odd social media post, showing a new person in the local area as a sponsor, training. We all use time in different ways. Steve's time has always been something I admired. He always did his job extremely well. That was the standard. He was also a very proud family man. His time was seldom wasted. It was always well spent in investing in whatever the endeavor before him. Dad, coach, fishing, boating, RVing, DH, now finishing up as a CO. I cannot express enough how important I thought that aspect of him as a person, as a leader. And as a challenge to all of you, how do you use your time well? Not every minute needs to be utilized accomplishing something or actively pursuing a result. Your time should always be invested in things that you value the most. We in the Navy always hear, always, the most important asset is our people. I wholeheartedly agree. The people are the most important asset, but I will ask you, do you invest in your time in the people? Not just a like or a heart on a post, more than a snap, a text, a DM, or a be-real video, but your actual time where you commit with effort to the care and growth of another human being who happens to be a sailor. I have no doubt Steve's time here was well spent and invested in you as much as he invested in his family. I'm sure, Steve, you experienced bumps in the road or communication issues or hard conversations, but I can tell you a successful culture is hard to establish. Once it is established, it is just as hard to maintain. I know Steve is leaving Ryan a great unit, and the work now is to maintain the level of effort and production at NRC Corpus Christi. You are all in good hands. Thank you, Steve, Ryan, the men and women of NRC Corpus Christi for being a great Navy unit. Congrats to you, Steve and Annie, and thank you for letting me be part of it. Lastly, if you learn nothing else today, know that you should always get out of a line drive, foul or fair. Just saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Burns. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our commanding officer, Commander Stephen Soja.
All right. First, let me put you all at ease. I'm only going to talk for a few minutes. I'd like to thank our distinguished guests for attending today. Our presiding officer, Captain Al Seaman, for making the trip down from Redcom, Fort Worth. Thank you, sir. Our guest speaker, Captain Rocky Burns, made it here despite multiple efforts of the airlines for keeping him from getting here. He been trying to get here since Thursday, got in late last night. I won't share your other secrets, sir. Captain Bain, welcome. Captain Zach, welcome. Captain Sposio, thank you for coming. To my fellow commanding officers, I appreciate your support. Commander Crawford and family, thank you for attending. Commander Thompson and family, welcome. To the RPDs, Commander Glenn, Commander Brown, thank you for coming. And a special shout out to our Ombudsman, Ron Perez, and his son Corbin, thank you. A lot of planning goes into making this event happen. I'd like to recognize our coordinator and our participants. A special thank you to our MC, Lieutenant Commander John Wilkes, thank you. And to MA2 Roseman for the beautiful rendition of our national anthem. That was great, thank you. Absolutely. Many thanks to our color guard led by HM2 Toscano. Thank you to the piper, bell ringers, side boys, greeters, ushers, and the working party who will set up and tear down after we leave. And lastly, none of this would have been possible without the leadership of our change of command coordinator, YNC Minda Perez. Thank you. As I look out into the audience, I see many of my family and friends. I can't thank you enough for the friendships and love you've shown me. Mike and Donna, Brad, Robert and Norma, Bobby, Colton, and Cooper, thank you for coming. To my parents and in-laws, thank you for all you've done for me and for the unconditional love and support. Mom and Molly, please accept these bouquets as a token of my appreciation. To my wife and kids who often sacrifice for Daddy's work, I would not be up here if it wasn't for your support. I love you. Annie and Ramey, please accept these flowers of my as a token of my appreciation and love. Captain Seaman, thank you for the opportunity to lead NRC Corpus Christi. I am blessed to have had the opportunity to serve our Corpus Christi reservists and our staff. There's been no greater honor. These sailors before you have accomplished a tremendous amount in the past 2.5 years I've been aboard. They have twice earned the Reserve Personnel Program Excellence Award and the Surgeon General's Blue H Award with Gold Star for exceptional retention and medical readiness, which are directly in line with increasing our warfighting readiness that you and Captain Burns talked about. This past year, our sailors achieved 100% mobilization success rate, our primary mission. They have deployed around the world in support of global operations, including missions supporting the COVID-19 response. I will miss working alongside this high-functioning team. Captain Burns, thank you for honoring my speaking today. As he previously mentioned, Captain Burns was my CO at VR-61 in Whidbey Island. Captain Burns showed me day in and day out what it meant to be a leader. He showed me what leaders do. He was engaged, he was involved, and unbeknownst to him, I borrowed several of his command philosophies. But the one that sticks out in my mind most is, let's get to yes. Those of you that saw how I tried to run the NRC saw that I wanted to get to yes. Don't come to me with no, let's find a way to get to yes. Saying no is easy, especially if it keeps you in your comfort zone. So sir, thank you for those lessons. I am fortunate to have such a hardworking and professional staff with plenty of guidance along the way. I have to tell a quick story of when I realized it was going to be a great tour. Within a couple of weeks of taking over, we received a notification that a SITREP was going to be needed to be released. A SITREP is an official message that goes up the chain of command to notify them of a significant event. We received the notification at the end of the day, about 30 minutes before we normally close out and leave for the day. What I witnessed was a team that came together that sprang into action and worked together to ensure the message was accurate. We stayed late to make sure I was comfortable with the message prior to release. I knew in that moment I had a great team surrounding me. This staff here at NRC Corpus Christi is second to none. Ryan, they're going to take care of you. Lieutenant Commander Zigraft has left no doubt in my mind that he will do a phenomenal job as your next commanding officer. I'm confident he will take NRC Corpus Christi to new heights. I'm excited to see what lays next. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to lead. The Cellras out there, I thank you time in and time out. You guys are fantastic. I cannot thank you enough for the support you've given me over my time here. Thank you.
Commander Socha, please join Captain Seaman at the front of the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Seaman will now present Commander Socha with a meritorious service medal. Military guests, please rise. Military, don your colors. Attention to award. The President of the United States of America takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Stephen G. Socha, United States Navy, for service set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service while serving as commanding officer of Navy Reserve Center Corpus Christi from September 2020 to April 2023. Commander Socha led a staff of 13 sailors in the training, administration, support, and readiness of 227 selected reserves across 16 reserve units through a culture of excellence that preserves strategic depth and delivered operational capabilities that increase the agility and lethality of the total force. He led the execution of 35 mobilizations, 32 demobilizations, including 3 distributed mobilization exercises, while managing $2.7 million that funded 7,571 days of direct support to the Joint Naval Forces worldwide. His collaboration with the base clinic enabled his Navy Reserve Centers to utilize health services, which increased medical readiness from 92.1% to as high as 98.5%, earning the Navy Surgeon General's Blue H Gold Star Award. Leveraging the feedback from the Defense Organizational Climate Survey, he instituted organizational changes that increased positive feedback from succeeding surveys, focus groups, and 99% of interactive customer evaluation system comments. His focus on readiness yielded 100% retention, the transition of 7 reserve component sailors to the active component, and the awarding of the 2020 and 2021 Commander Navy Reserve Force Reserve Personnel Programs Excellence Award. Commander Socha's exceptional professionalism, personal initiative, and loyal devotion to duty reflected great credit upon him and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President and J. Stephen, Rear Admiral of the United States Navy. Please remain standing for the reading of orders.
I will now read my orders. From Commander, Navy Personnel Command, Bupper's Order, Uniform Sierra 2003, November Alpha. When directed by a reporting senior detach in April 2023 from Navy Reserve Center, Corpus Christi, Texas. Report no later than June 2023 to Fleet Logistics Support Squadron 1, Det Hawaii. Report as officer in charge.
I will now read my orders. From Commander, Naval Personnel Command, Bupper's Order 3472. When directed by reporting senior detached in February 2023 from Navy Supply Fleet Logistics Center, Fort Worth. Report no later than April 2023. To Navy Reserve Center, Corpus Christi. Report to Commanding Officer, Navy Reserve Center, Corpus Christi, for duty as his relief.
Rachel will now pin the Commander Short insignia on Lieutenant Commander's insignia. Please take that. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Military Doctor Corpus. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Zinkra, Commanding Officer, Navy Reserve, Center of Corpus Christi.
Good morning. Thank you, Commodore, Captain, Commander Socha, staff, family, friends, and NRC Corpus Christi. I have to start by saying how humbled and honored I am to have this opportunity to take over such an outstanding command and such an amazing team. For me, I enlisted up the road in San Antonio a few years back, and so we're very excited to be back here in South Texas and be part of the community and be part of this command. Given current events in the world today, I think the words that were spoken by George Washington, that without a decisive naval force, we could do nothing definitive, has become even more true, and that our reserve force is even a bigger part of that. Our readiness is key to our success. In my brief time on board, I've had the opportunity to meet various sailors from several of the units, and as well as the staff. I've been so impressed with the professionalism, motivation, and dedication, and look forward to the command and working with all of you as one Navy team. Commander Socha has left me an immense set of shoes to fill, but I look forward to the challenge to continue the standard of excellence that has been established here at NRC Corpus Christi. And I welcome all of those that are joining us from Harlingen as well. Thank you, Commodore, for both presiding our event today, and thank you for your leadership and support. I know you, Commander Socha, I know you will be leaving us to go back to flying, but I truly appreciate the turnover here at the command. It has been amazing. Even though, unfortunately, you have to leave Texas to go to Hawaii. I'm sure it's going to be tough, but let me know if you need any homemade tortillas or some salsa. We'll take care of you. Thank you to all the distinguished guests that are here today, both on stage as well as in the audience. Thank you to friends and family that were able to be here. It truly means a lot to both of us, to all of us. I want to thank the staff and the sailors that participated in making this a success today for Commander Socha and me. And thank you to the USS Lexington for hosting this event. And most importantly, thank you to the NRC sailors of Corpus Christi. So before we close and we get to the cake, I want to say a couple special thank yous to some special people that helped to get me to this point in my life. Thank you to my wife, Rachel, to my kids, Mackenzie and Douglas. Your love and support, along this path, has not always been easy. I'm grateful to have my mother, CJ, and her husband, Irv, here, along with my sister, Amber. And I want to acknowledge my mother and father-in-law, Tom and Joyce, who were not able to make it here today. Thank you to my family and members, my dear friends and shipmates that have made the trip here to share in this ceremony. Each of you have had an impact on my life that has been a part of me reaching this point. And to my father, he showed me the values of being a naval officer, leader, and mentor. I never got to say thank you enough. We are part of a proud tradition of service and dedication and commitment to duty, and is what makes the Navy, our Navy, the best in the world. I look forward to command and serving with all of you here at NRC Corpus Christi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Skipper. Commander Socha, please join Chief McCowan center stage. Chief McCowan is presenting Commander Socha with gifts from various groups at NRC Corpus Christi. These gifts are a gesture of gratitude and respect. The first gift is from the NRC Chief's Mess. They're presenting him with a plaque in the shape of Texas, engraved with the words, "With great honor and recognition for your leadership and dedication at NRC Corpus Christi as the commanding officer. Fair winds and following seas from the NRC Corpus Christi Chiefs Mess." The second gift is from his wife, the NRC staff, and Aunt Busby. This paddle is given in honor of your achievements and milestones and is decorated with the NRC Command coin, Commanding Officer Shore insignia, Naval Aviator wings, NRC picture, and the dates of service as Commanding Officer. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the departure of the official party. Military, don your colors. Chaplain Segundo will now deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. O eternal God, we stand here today humbled by your presence and thank you for your strength and faithfulness. As one commanding officer departs and another comes aboard, may we remember always that you are with us. Grant us now your peace and strength, so we may honor our commitments to you, this nation, our families, and one another. We ask all these things in your wonderful name.